Hare Krishna, everybody. Good morning. So I'll get started with the invocation prayers. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Udapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavancha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamcha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांता स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So I'd like to welcome everybody. Today we will be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 3, chapter number 11, verse number 29. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Let me share my screen. Thammevanva api diyante lokha bhur adeyastrayaha nishayamanuvrita ayam nirmukta shashi bhaskaram. Tam, that, eva, certainly, anu, after, api diyante, are out of sight, lokaha, the planets, bhu, adayaha, the three worlds, bhu, bhuva, and swaha, trayaha, three, nishayam, in the night, anuvrittayam, ordinary, nirmukta, without glare, sashi, the moon, bhaskaram, the sun. Translation: when the night of Brahma ensues, all the three worlds are out of sight, and the sun and the moon are without glare, just as in the due course of an ordinary night. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Jai. It is understood that the glare of the sun and moon disappear from the sphere of the three worlds. But the sun and the moon themselves do not vanish. They appear in the remaining portion of the universe, which is beyond the sphere of the three worlds. The portion in dissolution remains without sun rays or moon glow. It all remains dark and full of water, and there are indefatigable winds, as explained in the following verses. This is verse number 30. Trilokyam Dhyaman Dahayaman Dahayaman Ayam Saktya Sankarshana Agnina Yanti Usmana Mahar Lokaj Janam Brikva Adhyo Adritaha. Synonyms here. Three Lokyam, when the spheres of the three worlds, Dhaya, Dahiya, Manayam, being set ablaze, Shaktya, by the potency, Sankarshana, from the mouth of Sankarshana, Agnina, by the fire, Yanti, they go, Usmana, heated by the warmth, Mahat Lokat, from Mahar Loka, Janam to Janaloka, Bhrigu, the sage Bhrigu, Adayaha, and others, Arditaha, being so distressed. Translation: the devastation takes place due to the fire emanating from the mouth of Sankarshana, and thus great sages like Bhrigu and other inhabitants of Mahatloka transport themselves to Janaloka, being distressed by the warmth of the blazing fire which rages through the three worlds below. And this is the last verse for today. It's verse number 31. Tavatri bhuvanam sadhyah kalpanta aiditha sindavaha plavayanti ukta tatopa chanda vataritor mayaha. Tavat, then, three bhuvanam, all the three worlds, sadhyaha, immediately after, kalpa anta, in the beginning of the devastation, edihita, inflated, sindavaha, all the oceans, plavayanti, inundate, utkata, violent, atopa, agitation, chandaha, hurricane, vata, by winds, irita, blown, and urmaya, waves. Translation: at the beginning of the devastation, all the seas overflow and hurricane winds blow very violently. Thus the waves of the seas become ferocious, and in no time at all, the three worlds are full of water. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. It is said that the blazing fire from the mouth of Sankarshana rages for 100 years of the demigods, or 36,000 human years. Then for another 36,000 years, there are torrents of rain, accompanied by violent winds and waves, and the seas and ocean overflow. These reactions of 72,000 years are the beginning of the partial devastation of the three worlds. People forget all these devastations of the worlds and think themselves happy in the material progress of civilization. This is called Maya, or that which is not. So I will just read the translation for all the three verses, just so that we get some continuity between the three verses, and then we can get into the discussions. Again, there's not much of a purport for all of these three verses, but there's a lot in what has been described in these three verses. When the night of Brahma ensues, all the three worlds are out of sight, and the sun and the moon are without glare, just as in the due course of an ordinary night. The devastation takes place due to fire emanating from the mouth of Sankarshana, and thus great sages like Bhrigu and other inhabitants of Mahaloka transport themselves to Janaloka, being distressed by the warmth of the blazing fire which rages through the three worlds below. At the beginning of the devastation, all the seas overflow and hurricane winds blow very violently. Thus, the waves of the seas become ferocious, and in no time at all, the three worlds are full of water. So again, just to give a super brief recap, we're still in the conversation between Vidura and Maitreya. This is Canto number 3. And in this chapter 11, we are specifically focusing on time. It starts with atomic time. So we start with the description of the minutest time unit at the atomic level. And then we go all the way to the unit of time, or the size of time at the higher planetary systems. So we also discuss the age of living entities in the different planetary systems. It's 100 years, and then it's 100 years in the earthly realm for all of us. And then as we progress up in the planetary system, it's again 100 years for the Devatas, and then all the way to Lord Brahma. And then when you collapse those 100 years from the celestial entities or the residents of the higher planetary systems to the earthly realm, you get some phenomenal number of years, which is what has been also being described in these verses. So, the day of, we understand from the previous verses, the day of Brahma is one kalpa. And we also, discussed, Manvantaras and the Divya Yugas. So one day of Brahma is one kalpa, and then one night of Brahma is another one kalpa. And so here, the night of Brahma is what is being described here. So the partial devastation, again, there has been multiple descriptions of, we will see that all through Srimad Bhagavatam, all the way till the last canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there has been descriptions of creation and destruction. And this notion of time is also brought about quite frequently. So I wanted to spend some time specifically on focusing on this verse number 30. The devastation takes place due to the fire emanating from the mouth of Sankarshana. So, the fifth canto actually gives a very nice description of Anantasesha. So let's go there. So this is the fifth canto, 25th chapter, and the title of the chapter is The Glories of Lord Ananta. So I would like to take some time just reading from this, the first few verses, which essentially helps provide a lot of context to what is being described here. So in this chapter, Srila Prabhupada writes here in introduction to this chapter. In this chapter, Shukadeva Goswami describes Ananta, the source of Lord Shiva. Lord Ananta, whose body is completely spiritual, resides at the root of the planet Pathala. He always resides in the core of Lord Shiva's heart, and he helps him destroy the universe. Ananta instructs Lord Shiva how to destroy the cosmos, and thus he is sometimes called Tamasi, or one who is in the mode of darkness. He is the original deity of material consciousness, and because he attracts all living entities, he is sometimes known as Sankarshana. The entire material world is situated on the hoods of Lord Sankarshana. From his forehead, he transmits to Lord Shiva the power to destroy this material world. Because Lord Sankarshana is an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, many devotees offer him prayers, and in the planetary systems of Patala, all the suras, asuras, gandharvas, vidyadharas, and learned sages offer him their respectful obeisances. The Lord talks to them in a sweet voice. His bodily construction is completely spiritual and very, very beautiful. Anyone who hears about him with a proper spiritual master becomes free from all material conceptions of life. The entire material energy is working according to the plans of Anantadeva. Therefore, we should regard him as a root cause of the material creation. There is no end to his strength, and no one can fully describe him, even with countless mouths. Therefore, he is called Ananta, unlimited. Being very merciful towards all living entities, he has exhibited a spiritual body. Sukadeva Goswami describes the glories of Anantadeva to Maharaj Parikshit in this way. And so the next few verses talks about, again, Sukadeva Goswami explaining the glories. And I'll read just the first, three translations here. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said to Maharaj Parikshit, "My dear king, approximately 240,000 miles beneath the planet Patala lives another incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the expansion of Lord Vishnu, known as Lord Ananta or Lord Sankarshana. He is always in transcendental position, but because he is worshipped by Lord Shiva, the deity of Tamoguna darkness, he is sometimes called Tamasi. Lord Ananta is the predominating deity of the material mode of ignorance as well as the false ego of all conditioned souls. When a conditioned living being thinks, I am the enjoyer and this world is meant to be enjoyed by me, this conception of life is dictated to him by Sankarshana. Thus the mundane conditioned soul thinks himself the Supreme Lord." Sukadeva Goswami continued, "The great universe situated on one of Lord Ananta's thousands of hoods appears just like a white mustard seed. It is infinitesimal compared to the hood of Lord Ananta. At the time of devastation, when Lord Ananta desires to destroy the entire creation, he becomes slightly angry. Then from between his two brows appears three-eyed Rudra carrying a trident. This Rudra, who is known as Sankarshana, is the embodiment of the 11 Rudras or incarnations of Lord Shiva. He appears in order to devastate the entire creation." Again, this is talking about the entire creation, but we are still in the partial devastation mode. But nevertheless, I thought this would be a really nice verse understanding the position of Lord Ananta or Sankarshana. And then there is some more details about the creation is described in this other verse too. And this is verse number 42 from I believe this is canto number 4. Give me 1 second. Yeah, this is canto number 4, chapter 7. This is the pastime of Daksha. In this, and again, if you recollect the pastime here, Lord Shiva essentially decimates the sacrificial area, and after Lord Brahma comes in and reconciles, essentially these are the words that are spoken by the various personalities that are there at the sacrificial arena. So in this text number 42, specifically, the demigod, again, this notion of partial devastation is brought about. The demigod said, "Dear Lord, formerly, when there was a devastation, you conserved all the different energies of material manifestation. At that time, all the inhabitants of the higher planets, represented by such liberated souls as Sanaka, were meditating on you by philosophical speculation. You are therefore the original person, and you rest in the water of devastation on the bed of Sesha snake. Now today you are visible to us, who are all your servants. Please give us protection." Another thing to note here is that why there's a substantial amount of details in terms of time, and the mechanistic, not necessarily, the mechanistic details of how these what are the different scales of times and how they map to the duration of one's existence within the material world. And so again, why do we have these detailed descriptions? It's almost like you want to travel to Vrindavan, and when people ask you, so how was your trip to Vrindavan? You start to describe the details of the aircraft that you went in, and then every single component and part within the airplane, and then how each of those parts and components of the airplane were manufactured and how they were assembled. And so it almost feels like that as we try to get into these topics of creation and time. They're very, very technical. Now, one thing to note is that these details also allow us to understand the minutia of details that the Supreme Lord plans just to satisfy the desires of the conditioned souls. And these descriptions would be boring, if not related to that exact same Supreme Lord, who's also the butter thief. That same Supreme Lord who's also hanging around with his friends in Vrindavan. That same Supreme Lord that is also the charioteer of Arjuna. And so as we try to as devotees, as we try to relish in the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, these details provide us with that level of detail that gives us the awe and reverence that is due to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and not to take those pastimes very cheaply. We are talking about a person who is manifested this material creation, and here's all that has gone into the creation of this material world. Of course, here we are talking about specifically a universe and a Brahma, but even the entire life of Brahma, which is I don't know how many trillion years, that entire life of Brahma is a fraction. It's not even a fraction of time for the Supreme Lord. So again, these descriptions allow us to fully appreciate the magnanimity, fully appreciate the awesomeness. How great is God. The second is that these descriptions also help us understand our situation in the material world. It's not pretty now, and it won't be pretty if we continue to be in this cycle of birth and death in the material realm. Because again, these ghastly destructions are what awaits those who have determined to be in this material existence. And so it is a great check, and actually Srila Prabhupada makes that. He again leaves no opportunity to indicate here that people forget all these devastations of the world and think themselves happy in the material progress of civilization. This is called Maya, that which is not. So again, that's a very sobering reminder for us that this is indeed not a pleasant place to be, and we should all aim to get out of the cycle of birth and death and be situated in eternal devotional service to Supreme Person of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So I'll stop there and see if there are any comments, questions.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I don't know if this is the first time you're speaking in this group, but at least this is the first time I'm hearing you. So welcome to the community and to the congregation. Thank you for your very insightful, discussion today. I have no other comments. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for your generous comments. Any other questions or thoughts?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Go ahead, Mataji.
Sorry, you go ahead, Mataji. I'll speak later.
Thank you, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances, Prabhu. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Prabhu. It's wake up in the morning. Nice discussion. As you were describing about that analogy, if someone asked about Vrindavan, describing about the airplane and all the components, for me, that's how it always feels whenever I'm hearing this creation and topics. I don't know, my brain just can't capture that. It just feels like, oh, Krishna, really, we have to hear this, we have to, read this, that kind of stuff. But I like the way you have described. It's there for a purpose. And obviously these acharyas are describing it. So, we have been hearing, I think the other day, Radha Kunj Bihari Prabhu was sharing. I mean, it was really powerful for me for two things. One thing is, this is the subject matter that actually attracted somebody to become such a wonderful devotee. And the other thing also about the book distribution, as we are hearing Gopal Hari Prabhu, Devi Murthy Mataji, and all the devotees are going and doing book distribution. Some books just randomly sitting in somebody's shelf, they're not even opening it. Even if they're not opening and reading, this friend visits and just reads just about this creation and time, which is like the most complex and something which most of us may not pick. And, after a few years becomes this most wonderful devotee serving in so many wonderful capacities. So appreciation for, Radha Kunj Bihari Prabhu and also the book distribution team. Just somehow wanting to share that, Prabhu, reflecting on the same point. It feels like how boring or like not connected, but at the same time, how powerful and potent the sound vibration itself is. Thank you so much.
Right. Devi Murthy Mataji, were you? Somebody was trying to.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for your wonderful class this morning. And somehow topics about time are really fascinating to hear, because it's like as Mataji said, it's like a wake-up call. And I also want to appreciate your example of this a person traveling to Vrindavan and giving details of the airplane. Yes, I think Prabhupada also gives one example of a person traveling via airport and settling in the airport, not willing to move forward. Mm-hmm. So I think that's my situation, not willing to move forward. This is like a transition place, material world, from here to back to Godhead, but not willing to move ahead. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, I actually forgot there was It's a beautiful, the last verse in Brahma Samhita. I worship the transcendental seed known as Svetadipa, where the loving consorts of Lakshmi in their unalloyed spiritual essence practice the Amaras, service of the Supreme Lord, and then, where every tree is a transcendental purpose, where the soil is a purposeful gem, all water is nectar, every word is a song, every gate is a dance, the flute is a favorite attendant. Effulgence full of transcendental bliss, and the supreme spiritual entities are all enjoyable and tasty, where numberless milk cows always emit transcendental oceans of milk, where there is eternal existence of transcendental time, who is ever present and without past or future, and hence is not subject to the quality of passing away, even for the space of half a moment. So, again, this is our goal, ultimately to be in that realm where time is present, inconspicuous by its absence. And it's it's almost it's a little bit funny that we call it as past times, because the time does not actually pass in leelas, right? When we translate leela as past time, the time does not actually pass in the spiritual world, but it is again explicitly and exclusively for the Supreme Lord and under the control of the Supreme Lord. So anyway, I was reminded of that as you shared. Thank you so much. All right, so we are at 8:03. If there are no other questions, I would like to thank everybody for their time and have a wonderful rest of your day. Hare Krishna.